You saw that 𝐒𝐑5K clip. Welcome to the video, everybody. My name is Abby. This video for the Dragonblade build for Genji has been a really long time in the making. Every time I felt like I was confident with the build, Genji got some sort of a nerf, whether it was the ammo or the cooldown increase on the deflect, and that actually affected the build a lot. I kind of lost motivation and Genji just didn't feel as good in Stadium, but I felt like, okay, I think I have figured out a nice, interesting, and very fun to play build. Now, how does it hold up in competitive? Honestly, the competitive in Stadium is a huge mess, and it's just a very casually competitive mode. Matchmaking will always be an absolute mess, but what I can tell you is that this build is all about being an early game demon, or even if you are in situations where you're having unfavorable matchups, that's okay, because this build is even going to reward you for feeding. I can't believe I just said that. With that being said, let's not waste any time. We need to talk about the powers, the items, and how the build comes together, the logic behind it, and then I'm going to be doing a game showcase of how to play the build and what you're looking to do. With that being said, let's get into the range armory. Now we're in the armory and I want to talk about a lot of things. First of all, we're going to talk about the powers because this is the most crucial part. Now, I've done a lot of experimentations for months when it's come to the Dragonblade build. Sometimes I even like going for Dragon's Breath on round 1, but honestly, the best thing you want to start off with for Genji in round 1, especially if you're doing a Dragonblade focus build, you want to go for 𝐒𝐈𝐈 Strike. 𝐒𝐈𝐈 Strike, the reason you want to take this first is just because it helps with some breakpoint combos. It helps just do a new sense of a combo with dash melee with, like, you know, the left click in between, and then the 𝐒𝐈𝐈 Strike cancel attack. That's a very good way to secure a kill on most squishies in the Stadium format, especially round 1 and 2. You can get away with a lot, and then by round 2, with the way we're going to build him out, you're actually going to be using Dragon's Breath to combo with 𝐒𝐈𝐈 Strike to poke into the enemy. I'll try to be doing like some showcase clips here and there as we talk about the build, so you can kind of see like how the build is coming together in terms of a play style. And along with that, we're going to talk about where the build becomes a little bit more flexible. Now, to be honest with you, these two are the ones that I feel like are just too crucial to the build itself. You want the 𝐒𝐈𝐈 Strike, you want Dragon's Breath. Now, in my opinion, if you have a mercy pocket, let's say you're dueling with Genji's lovely wife Angela, and you have that mercy pocket, you can actually go for the Dragon's Breath on round 1, because with the damage boost, you'll be able to build your Dragonblade very, very quickly, that even in round 1, you can pop off like crazy. That's where I felt like, okay, if I have the mercy with me, then I think Dragon's Breath is better, because with the damage boost, you're building your ult much faster. I like it over there, and then I take 𝐒𝐈𝐈 Strike second, because you have the pocket. You don't have to worry too much about like the 𝐒𝐈𝐈 Strike giving you the extra oomph. That's where mercy comes in, but it's not a bad idea to also go for 𝐒𝐈𝐈 Strike in round 1 if you do have a duo, a mercy pocket that's with you, or even an Ana pocket that's with you, helping you out. But Mercy's neutral game impact in Stadium is actually very good, and she pairs really well with Genji, and I wish I could do like a cross build video. Hey, would you guys like to see a cross build for duos and things like that, how to make each other's kits like line up together and make the most value? Because there's some interesting things me and my duo discovered, but that might be for another video. So the first thing is first, the optimal way to play him is you want 𝐒𝐈𝐈 Strike as your first power and Dragon's Breath for your second power, and that kind of brings the early game monster that Genji can be together. Now, the next thing that we have to consider, well, this is where things can go in a lot of different directions. Now, if you want to take him the more aggressive route, if you feel like your team, your tank, your supports have a lot more momentum and they're winning their duels and you're just pushing car and you feel like the enemy is struggling to keep up with you, it's your job as the Genji to bring as much pressure to the fight as possible, and you just want to go balls to the walls. You want to run it down mid and you want to bring as much pressure as possible. That's where the power called Laceration, which basically applies a bleed onto the enemy targets, is going to become really important. Now, it doesn't really have much of an oomph. I kind of wish it was maybe 40% additional damage over 3 seconds or 2 seconds to enemies hit to balance it out. But where this comes alive a lot is the way that it helps you build ultimate charge, especially into the late game. This is going to be very, very crucial, right? And then if you want to commit to the hyper aggressive build, you can go for Hidden Blade that gives you melee lifesteal, keeps you alive in that Dragonblade phase, right? Now, there might be a situation where things are not working out. You've got 𝐒𝐈𝐈 Strike, you've got Dragon's Breath, the game is a little bit head to head, and you want to build into some sustain because you're like, oh my god, okay, I don't want to sacrifice my aggression for sustain. What do I do? Well, this is where I come in to help you. Now, if you are against hit scan heavy comps, there sometimes can be a case where hit scans just refuse to have trigger discipline. This is where Deflectobot is a huge hugely underrated item, and this was actually supposed to be a part of the previous build that I wanted to do, but because they nerfed deflect, it's harder to build around deflector bot anymore. But deflector bot basically gives you an aim bot on everything you deflect, and it surprises a lot of people. Even characters like Ryan or Sigma that are spamming down main will get their shit reflected back at them, and they might blow up because of it. So deflector bot is one of those options, but for me personally, what I like to do, if I feel like I'm under too much pressure, the item I go for is, again, very underrated. Not a lot of people talk about it. Hanamura healing. So the headshot damage that you do and the sword strike damage that you do is going to grant you over health, and basically Genji turns into a freaking unkillable tank with Hanamura healing. Sometimes I might even start with Hanamura healing and go into Dragon's Breath or something like that if I feel like the enemy comp is really good at countering me, because it allows me to continue with my aggressive playstyle while also rewarding me for it by giving me the overhealth. So in my opinion, the optimal item, if you feel like you need a bit more sustain and things are not going as planned and momentum's not on your side, Hanamura healing is the way to go. And then from that point onwards, again, if you are able to turn momentum in your favor, go back to Laceration. It makes a big difference. Or you can lean into a little bit more sustained. You can go for Forged Under the Fire, where Deflect will heal you for the 60% of the damage it prevents. This actually comes up quite a bit, trust me. And then, especially when the health bars begin to scale, this makes a big difference. You can go for Spirit of Soldier. Spirit of Soldier is also a little bit underrated. To be honest, this would be really broken if this was in the live game. But yeah, I think Spirit of Soldier is really interesting. But again, it's like it just depends on the scenario, right? I feel like the deflect perks are just a lot better to have against more poke heavy comps. But even then, what I do is after I take the Hanamura healing, I lean back into Laceration. But if you want more sustain, either go for Hidden Blade or Force Under Fire. Those two will be the ones that are going to help you stay alive and commit to your targets. And then you know, basically you have the auto strike with the poke from Dragon's Breath, which is going to make a big difference. So for this case, we can take Forge Under Fire to give us a little bit more sustain. Now, how do we build with items? Now, typically in round one, right? Round one, you only have so much money. You almost always want to go Compensator into Charge Plating or Power Playbook, and then go straight into Winning Attitude. Now, I have tried, the reason I brought up Charge Plating is I have tried it. I think it's a little bit underrated. But honestly, the idea is that you have to first get to your ultimate and use the ultimate, and then you get the benefit from it. It's okay. Like, I like this a lot more on characters that build ults even faster. So like, this is not very good on characters like Tracer and Brigitte. But personally, after testing a lot of Charge Plating and Power Playbook, I landed on Power Playbook because it's just consistency, right? Having more damage on dash and deflect, especially with the auto strike, makes a big difference. And finally, for the third item, you typically want to go for Winning Attitude, right? So once you have that Winning Attitude, is whenever you die, you'll be rewarded for it in a weird way, and you're going to gain 50% ult charge. So typically in those round ones, you're going to want to play like really aggressive, get in the enemy backline, you get in the sidelines and start just poking away. See if you can take some duel, and the goal here is, okay, if you win those duels, great. If you don't, well, the goal is to just poke away as much as possible, try to build as much ult charge, and usually if you can get it high enough, by the time you take that next team fight or go for that next flank, you're gonna have the Dragonblade and it's gonna catch them off guard. A lot of people sleep on Winning Attitude. It can come up clutch in a lot of scenarios. Now, I'll talk about more about this in the games that I have coming up in the VOD section, so we'll talk about that over there. Now, what do you do when you go into round two? By round two, you have about 15k to 20k money, depends on how good that round went, and I'll tell you how to spend it. So the first thing is that no matter what, you want to keep the Winning Attitude, and you want to bring in Winning Attitude's best friend in crime, and that is in the ability slot. This one over here in the rare section, it's Junker 𝐒𝐻𝐿. Junker 𝐒𝐻𝐿 gives you 25 health, so a little bit of sustain, but it gives you the 25% starting ultimate charge, and trust me, this and this add up like crazy. So in the beginning of the round, you not only have the 25% ultimate charge on your side, but you're also leaning into the idea that you can again continue that hyper aggressive playstyle and just go absolutely ballistic. And then if you somehow die, you basically have the Dragonblade. And remember, by round two, we have Dragon's Breath, which it gives us the additional poke option, and we're going to actually lean into ability power scaling with this build, or try to run hybrid. We don't want to lean into weapon power. I've actually experimented with this a lot, and I think the best way to build around Dragonblade is to lean into the ability power. Now, there might be somebody that says, Abby, well, Dragonblade, you know, it is an ultimate ability, sure, like I don't know if it scales with weapon or not. Here's the funny thing: Dragonblade actually scales with weapon power, ability power, and also quote unquote melee damage that is mentioned on this power over here with hidden blade. And it's also something that scales with one of the items that I, for the life of me, cannot find right now. It's the siphon gloves. I for the life of me, I forgot where the siphon gloves are, guys. Bear with me. There we go, siphon gloves. So the quick melee damage healing you for 25 life. If I'm not wrong, this does work with your Dragonblade. Another one is also Gloom Gauntlet. You can see that the melee damage is increased. So melee damage is something that Dragonblade does, and it does scale off of it, right? So this is something I want everybody to keep in mind. But what I want you to do to have the most powerful Dragonblade build, right, is after you've taken all of these into round 2, the way I've built him is you want to go for multi-tool and custom stock, because the multi-tool will give, we want to reduce our cooldown, because like 5v5, it's a bit poke slop, I'm not going to lie, and we want to be able to poke as much as possible, and for that we need the cooldown to be reduced. So we want to take multi-tool, we want to take custom stock. Custom stock again gives us a bit of HP, gives us some weapon power, and a 10% ability power increase is really nice. Then we're going to come back to weapon power, and this is where we're actually going to take 𝐒𝐈𝐶. Now, a lot of people are going to want to go for talent weapon modification, but honestly, if you have the money for it, I would go for 𝐒𝐈𝐶, because again, it gives you the extra 10% weapon power, and it gives you the 5% cooldown reduction. And this is where you, by round 2, you're having stats like this, assuming everything went really well in round 1. Now, if things don't go that well, you can probably sacrifice multi-tool or custom stock, keep one or either, and just combat with 𝐒𝐶, because we do want a little bit of weapon power by round 2/round 3. Right now, going into round 3, 4, assuming things are going well, this is typically the point where this build should shut down the game. Now, how are we going to shut down the game? That's what I'm going to explain next. Now, in order to shut down the game early on, it doesn't become a slogfest, because Genji in late game becomes really awkward in the way that he wants to play. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come to the weapon side, right? And you kind of want to assess the situation that you're in. We are again not getting rid of winning attitude and Junker Wachamachick. It's way too good of items to have that you don't want to get rid of, right? And what we're going to do is instead we're actually going to take Cyber Venom. Cyber Venom is super underrated. It helps our build a lot. It gives us that cooldown reduction, and it applies the healing reduction to anybody we pass through. And again, if you have the Laceration, I do believe Laceration re-triggers the Cyber Venom heal reduction. So the heal reduction is actually on those targets for a lot longer than it should be, which is really, really good. Again, if I'm not wrong, another underrated item is actually the Iridescent Iris, which gives you 20% ability power and the 10% cooldown reduction. And when you use your ultimate, it gives you overhealth. Now, I'm going to lean into like a full build, quote unquote, and show you guys like what Genji looks like when you have like some purple items completed. Typically, then you want to go for survival. Now, I really don't like the fact that Transference Delta is over here. I really wish this was an ability or weapon power item, but it is what it is. Now, it's not all bad. It does give us 100 health into armor, which makes a big difference. We'll talk about it in a minute. But it also, when we use our ultimate, we're going to restore our armor, and it gives us a 15% all cost reduction. So I just wish this had like 5% or 10% weapon power / ability power. It would really bring this item together, because it's really the one thing that holds this build back from going into late game, is that it struggles to scale depending on the things you're adding on. Then finally, what we want to do is now the last slot is very, very versatile. You can go for the Enduring Edge. The Enduring Edge giving you the 4-second Dragonblade duration with some weapon power is actually really, really good, because again, like the longer blade means you're throwing out more poke, you're just going absolutely ballistic, you're dashing around, applying the heal reduction and the bleed. So you can do that, or you could just go for the raw power increases with the closer, which is really good, because again, if you're landing those headshots, it's doing 10% more critical damage, which again scales onto your Hanamori healing. So these are some things I want you guys to consider. Overall, the thing about this build is that you can be really flexible, but if you're playing competitive and you end up in round 5+, guys, I'm gonna be real, whatever powers you have, it is what it is. You have to sell everything, and by round 5 and onwards, you want to lean into as much weapon power as possible, because by round 6, 7, or even in some games in round 5, Genji's Dragonblade build begins to fall off, and because people become way more like tankier, way more stronger in general, it's better to have a stronger neutral game. So while you might sacrifice the powers, you can just lean into like maximizing your weapon power. So if they have a really good tank, I'll take Codebreaker with Eye of the Spider or the Closer, Hard Light Accelerator, etc, etc. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the shop. You can improvise with your builds, and that's kind of what I do when I feel like, okay, things are not really working out, I need to improvise. Now with that being said, that's the logic behind the build and how we're going to be running it. What we're going to do now is we're going to go into the WOD section, and we're going to watch how I play across the different rounds, across different games, and I'm going to try and share my mentality with you guys on how I win with this build in the early game. Now with that being said, let's jump straight into the WODs. So the game has started and I am looking for a target. I'm trying to see who would be really good to jump on. The soldier got really low, immediately dashed into him, trying to use my blade to apply some pressure on the Reinhardt. Now he actually decides to to basically charge into the Hazard, which Hazard, man, he's really strong in this mode. It backfires on the Reinhardt quite a bit as I'm able to isolate this Mei with my team, and that's where the Iado strike is so good for our early gameplay neutral. Honestly, I've been playing this character for 10 years almost now, and Stadium for me really helps evolve the gameplay for him. But I really think that Genji's best item in round 1 is Iado strike, just because of the extra aggressiveness option that it gives you. Right here you can see that Dragonblade strike, even though the damage is reduced on it, it just helps us apply even more pressure. And then against a character like Reinhardt, where unless we're able to get behind him, we can kind of, you know, frontline into him and slash him with that blade. Now over there we secure 2 kills and we're able to carry the momentum forward and push in with our team. And right here helping secure these kills. Now unfortunately I am on like 180 ping, guys, so you know, Stadium, you know, the ping, everybody knows that Stadium servers are kind of a mess, and unfortunately most of my games have been on high ping, but it is what it is. The gameplay for me is pretty simple and straightforward. I'm gonna let you guys watch it and enjoy it. I'll just keep commentating and spectating it with you. And it's pretty much a standard Genji stuff. We're helping our Hazard apply pressure to the Reinhardt, and I typically want to play aggressive when I feel like, hey, you know, I'm in a situation where the enemy team feels a lot of pressure, right? And if I can move in with my tank, I should. Now over there I make a mistake, and you know, I kind of feel like, damn, something hit me harder than usual, and I check the enemy build. What's this Ana running? Because I'm not familiar with the new Ana perks, right? Either way, I don't want to hide my mistake from you guys, because, you know, I want you to see what happens when you make a mistake and how to adjust to it. Now, round 1 has been won. It's gone pretty well. I mean, usually round 1 is the basic 5v5 core gameplay with the Stadium paint applied over it. Round 2 is where things get crazy, right? Now, bear in mind, this is still quick play, because I ain't gonna lie, bro, being locked into a 40-minute game and competitive is boring, right? So we are now going into round 2 with 𝐒𝐈𝐊. And now we're going to bring in the next part, the next power of the Dragonblade build, which is going to be none other than the Dragon's Breath. So the first thing we're going to do is going to take Junker Whatchamachig, and then we're going to take Multi-Tool for the cooldown reduction, and I'm going to take Icy Coolant. I feel like I'm going to be fighting in their face a lot more, and then I'm going to take the Power Playbook for, you know, a little bit more ability power, so that, you know, we can make sure our Dragonblade hits like a brick wall. And then I was kind of deciding, and then I was deciding what do I want, and I kind of opted for Compensator for the extra weapon power, and finally we've taken the Dragon's Breath. So let's not waste any time with round 2, because we're still stuck here for a minute. I'll take us to the team fight with Editing Magic. Now before I get into the team fight, check this out. Me and Hazard absolutely aura farming here on the side. Okay guys, enough of that. Let's get into the team fight. Our team fight starts over here. Ryan has walked in and he's been walled off by the Hazard. We're going to try and isolate him over here. And this is where the poke from that Dragonblade slash, the projectile that goes across so many people, you can poke so many people and build so much ult charge. Team fight just started, already 60% on that ult charge. Keep throwing that Dragonblade projectile forward. Pierce as many enemies as possible. Try to line it up, and then Marisi, what are you doing? You're feeding, rising in front of 6 people, man. 5 people, man. Why are you doing that? Take advantage. Keep that pressure coming. Look at that. 3 people cleaning that 𝐒𝐂𝐈𝐊 alone, and then just going in towards this Soldier 76 who's been isolated by the Torbjorn lava. My goodness, man. We are going absolutely crazy in these games with the Dragonblade build. So we now have the Dragonblade online, and I'm going to show you guys why this character is an early game monster, right? As if the clip I played at the beginning wasn't enough. Here we go. On this Mercy, Dragonblade comes out with the piercing projectiles. We're trying to follow them, but I unanimously make a big joke of myself as I mess up. But again, the projectiles are able to kind of do some damage on the Sword 76, but it's not enough. But it's okay. We keep going. We pull out the sword with the deflect, but it's not enough. Genji just doesn't do enough damage, man. Buff Genji's damage is so pathetic with his like weak breakpoints sometimes. But it's okay. if a scenario like this happens, you just want to disengage and just, it's okay, try again, because this build is all about getting to Dragonblade. So 30% ult charge here, I die, I get straight up to 50% because, you know, we do have that winning attitude. So it's okay if you mess up a Dragonblade. Remember, guys, what I said, I don't want to hide what happens when you mess up, because we're human beings. It's bound to happen, right? We're going to make mistakes at some point, but it's okay. I show you how to make the comeback too. So again, we're back. We're in position to take a team fight. I'm kind of watching my Hazard to see what he does. Maybe I get a bit greedy. I'm like, okay, I want this ride, man. But I see that 𝐒𝐿𝐑, I'm like, I want this 𝐒𝐿𝐑, but I don't really know. New skin's really nice on her. Get nano boosted for a second, but I get earth shattered. I guess that Ryan is worried that, hey, this Genji, you know, he's getting nano boosted. Maybe is gonna leap up into the sky and take out my team, but it's okay. It's okay. Why? Because my team, man, they're just the goats, man. Look at this goat, Richie over here on the Torbjorn, bro. He's doing some crazy things. Sorry, Ricky. Excuse my English. I didn't really read his name properly. But again, the enemy team has control. We need to swap the control as quickly as possible. Dragonblade slice, dash in with that Dragonblade, do the combo, and then reset and take another fight. I have my ultimate over here. Let's reset. Just kind of wait this out. Maybe we can clutch it. Can we clutch it? I recorded this like 3 days back, so I'm not entirely sure if I remember, but I'll take when my HP is low. Past Abby, you're stupid. A little bit of a risky decision, but it's okay. My support's making it in time. We try to poke the Mercy down. It doesn't exactly work out, but it's okay. But the ult is good enough to make them go back, and then we can come in with our shuriken damage and start to secure some kills and force them away again. The big cleave over there does a lot for us with Genji. Gonna keep pressuring this 𝐒𝐿𝐑, and she just teleports away every 5 nanoseconds. It's fine. We'll deal with her and her shenanigans as well in this team fight. The Ryan is actually getting really cocky, so I realize, okay, we need to shut this Ryan down. He's really drawing on this fight, but I take some pressure here. I'm just holding that corner, praying that I can get healed, and I do. And I'm like, okay, I'm 50% of Dragonblade. Even if I die, it's okay, but the slash projectile confirms the kill, allows us to push back the enemy team, basically win the round 2. Now, nothing ultra flashy is going on, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us into some games where we do dominate a lot more, and you see the build come alive. Gonna take us to this map over here now, and we're playing around with our Hazard. I believe this is round 2, and enemy team is pushing up in that big straight line over here, and it lines up for a huge cleave for our Dragonblade slash projectile, and we can just build so much ult charge. Look at that, 60% ult charge already because of the power of Junker 𝐓𝐖𝐈𝐓𝐄𝐇 and winning attitude, giving us a big early start with the ultimate charge. Then I just want to poke and farm the Sigma as much as possible. Again, I don't mind dying in the early game if it means that I can get my ult up quickly and then just win the fight that follows. Now going into this next fight, we do have Dragonblade basically online, trying to see if I can outpoke this enemy, and Ashe gets poked and decides to back up, but the soldier, he gets poked but he doesn't back up, and he pays the price for it. Now I need to bail out for a second here, allow Mercy and Moira to heal me up. Dragonblade is online, looking for this wall over here, because this is a cute little trick that you can do, is climb the wall on the left, dash above that roof, and then go crazy with the Dragonblade. So again, for the clip, we just have to do it, right? So for the clip, here we go, climb, into dash, into blade, and boom. You guys seen this clip in the beginning. This is where we go absolutely crazy with this build and just chunk away at the enemy's life over here. Sigma is walking up. We are gonna finish him off for our nice 4K. Ashe decided to show herself. Big mistake. 5K. This is the Genji Dragonblade build that is just a monster in the early game, and I gave my suggestions for the late game. Guys, I really tried to see if I could get footage for late game, but I can't lie, I think the biggest problem with stadium content creation is it's really hard to get late game, because usually people either rage quit, whether it's in quick play, people AFK, people throw tantrums, people mentally give up. Even if you do get to the late game rounds, it's very, very difficult. I remember when I made my first stadium video as well, I said that it was just so difficult to get late game rounds into a place where I could talk about it, because usually I'm just winning in the early game with this particular build, right? So again, I've given my advice on how you want to play this build, and this was a round 3 over here. The clip that I'm showcasing is from a round 3 in a stadium competitive game, so I did want to run it in competitive to see how it does. And well, yeah, we 3-0'd the enemy. This Sigma flying build is like really annoying to deal with, but because we have the slash projectile, it can help us, you know, deal with the Sigma. So he does come down eventually, we pressure him, and the game kind of goes from there, and we were having a really good early game lead doing the usual loop. So like I said, it's really hard to get the late game footage sometimes where the build is able to come alive. Either that or I have to give up on the logic, because by late game Genji just becomes a weapon power bot, because his by late game the ability power is not as strong. So one thing you can do with Genji is early game go for ability power. By round 3, if things are going well, you've pretty much won it, or by round 4, if you're going to round 5 and beyond, just lean back into weapon power, because that's where he then begins to excel a lot more because of the scaling. So with that being said, everybody, we're going to have a lot more stadium content on this channel, for guides, for builds, for showcases, educational content. If you're interested in seeing more stadium content for Overwatch and just Overwatch in general, be sure to hit like and subscribe. It helps support the channel for free. With that said, I will see you in the next video.